Hello and welcome, everybody. I am LanceCecil, joined here by Pinzo Dunzo and Seismic for the June group reveal show for Prime Championship Circuit. I just want to give my co-hosts here a little chance to introduce themselves. Why don't you take it away for us, Pinzo?
I'm Pinzo, streamer, YouTuber extraordinaire of the Pred scene. If you know, you know. I'm here to do some group reveal. We're already in, so
Perfect.
I'm here to reveal groups.
And here on my other side, once I learn how to navigate my mirrors, is the wonderful Seismic with the face reveal. Will you introduce yourself for us here, Seismic?
How's it going, guys? I'm Seismic. I play mid for royalty. I'm not a streamer, not a YouTuber, but here to help.
Both these guys are being humble for us here today. These guys are specifically chosen because they got first and second in our last event. Pinzo and his team were able to upset the Professors, have an incredible performance. They actually even upset Seismic team in our last group stage that happened back in April. So they're gonna have to wait a little bit to get some, revenge back on that, potentially meet back in the finals. And Seismic, of course, is our champion. If anybody watched the thing that I was on with Moogie, I declared I think Seismic is the best mid laner in the world. So keep your eyes out on him if you ever see him around. But we're not going to waste any time. We know everybody is here to find out who will be playing who, how the groups are going to work. We just had that video that went over all of the rules for it. Is the exact same format that we did for April. So if you're familiar with that, you're going to expect to see a lot of the same thing. We'll be showing all of the seeding rounds, and we're just going to get straight into it with Group A. So let's pull those teams up here quick and show you the graphic for it. In Group A, we are going to have Professors, Red Dojo, Stackies, and Anomaly. So we have some teams in here that haven't been in any of our, events before, with Anomaly and Stackies here. A little bit of a change to the Red Dojo roster, but we'll get into that in a second. I want to start with Stackies. Pinzo is our resident NA West guy over here with me representing. This team is all NA West players, and it is more or less the top of the Meta City leaderboard for NA West players. Can you tell us about any of the players on that team, and if you've ran into any of them in solo queue, or have you played against any of them, Pinzo?
Yeah. I've played against most of these guys. I've been more on East, but on West, like Drink Drunk is probably the best Rampage player that I know on West, and Shurik is, of course, like a passable carry player. Depending on he'd tell you otherwise. But no, that team is. I'm really glad to see West teams like making it to these kinds of tournaments. I like to see the representation. I really like it.
I agree with that a lot. Do you have any comments about this group before we get into breaking down who we think some of the favorites might be, Seismic?
When you're looking at Group A, I have to say Professors probably takes it with Red Dojo behind. I don't know too much about Stackies, and Anomaly is kind of an anomaly to me.
So this, for me particularly, this group kind of hits really close to my heart. Everybody knows that's watched any of the PCC things. I'm closely associated with the dojo teams. I've helped with a lot of the putting of that roster together. They did have a little bit of turnover because Pinzo came in and swiped up their offlaner and their jungler from them, who will now be on Rogue. So they've replaced them with Bartledew and Frankie B. If you've paid attention to solo queue, if you've been in any games, you've probably gotten ran down by those two before. So definitely some additions to it. But I also think this Anomaly team has an opportunity to be pretty good as well. They've got some pretty familiar names on it. J-Pie is actually their jungler. And then they've got Spotted Loss and Legend Up carrying down their duo lane. My guy Wally J, who is a big Shinbi main, is also their solo laner. So there are a lot of teams in this that I am pulling for. A lot of that Anomaly team kind of met up and got to know each other through the dojo Discord as well. Another thing worth mentioning is that Crazy Fool will not be playing for Professors in this. He's got an obligation that day. So Mr. Guru is going to play support, and they're going to have, I believe, Regal come in and play off lane for them. So a little bit of their different roster, potentially an opportunity for somebody to have an upset over them, and maybe squeak past them, or even potentially keep them out of it, as this group is really no slouch. I do like the idea of us picking a winner from each group. I'm going to let Pinzo kick this off. I know Seismic already said that he thinks Professors is probably going to win this. Who do you think takes this group here, Pinzo?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to bet against Professors when it comes to group stages. I would like to see Red Dojo, put up a fight. Again, it's only a best of one, right, within the groups. So Lucky, Cheese Strat, something like that. I'd like to see Red Dojo take it, but it's really hard to bet against Professors.
All right, I like that. I'm feeling wild today. I'm probably going with wild picks for most of the day. I actually think Red Dojo wins that group. Stackies gets second, and Professors doesn't qualify. I'm probably wrong about that. Record it and make fun of me later for it. But that's how I see that group going. It's a best of one format. You never know what kind of chaos could happen. I'd love to see that NA West team get in. I don't want to root against Red Dojos because I do know Professors is probably making it out of there. But I need some NA West representation because I'm out here on the West Coast.
Wait, real quick. I do want to actually take back and switch to Red Dojo. Hearing Crazy Fool subbing out and they're getting a different offlaner, and then I didn't even notice that Red Dojo has Peak as a sub. Peak is one of those players that like is super good, and I was surprised wasn't playing in the previous tournaments. He definitely could have slotted in on any roster. I've seen him dominate jungle, solo lane. He's a pretty good mid player too. Like he's actually the all-around best sub that I actually see on any roster, and to see him on that team with like Professors shifting a player into a different position and bring in a new player, I don't know. It really depends if they actually play Peak or not and where they'd slot him in, but that's a really good player to look out for.
I do gotta say, I've actually been pretty surprised to only see Peak be subbed on any teams. I'm really surprised he's not on a main roster somewhere, actually. So like kudos to them for having such a top tier sub on their team, because that is a really good thing to point out. Because there is that, life happens, things come up, teams have to play with their subs and stuff. Pinzo had different people come in for his last group stage, and it ended up suiting them pretty well as they ended up on that third. They had Lakeinator and did somebody else come in for you? Crashy came in for you. That's right.
Crashy.
Yeah, so Crashy and Lakeinator stepped up pretty big for you in the last group. So the subs can matter, especially in the best of one format, like we're saying. So that's a really good thing to point out there, Seismic. Let's move in to Group B, though. I do think that this one has got a good crop of logos in it. We're going to start out with Dirty Lake and the boys, Team Monkey, High Ping, and Zero Grid for Group B. I do think that this one is an interesting one. I do know quite a bit about Dirty Lake and the boys, and I do like to consider myself like pretty in the loop as far as predecessor esports goes and knowing teams and stuff. Other than Zero Grid, I'm pretty unfamiliar with the other two teams in this. I do know, and it's been bugging me for about a week now, and I have to point it out. Team Monkey's logo is a chimpanzee, and chimpanzees are not monkeys; they are apes. But that is for another. That's for another time. We'll talk about that later with those guys. Let's take a look quick into the rosters. Can you read the roster for High Ping off for me, Pinzo?
Yeah, High Ping they've got Chuito, Ozzy, Wism, Sith Kilo, and Lord Tacoington. I know a couple of these guys. Wism and Sith I both know from stream. Wism is actually probably like a top 10 Howie player in the game, so that's something to watch out for. Other than that, I don't really know the rest of the roster, so we'll have to see how they perform.
Perfect. And then for Zero Grid, one of the other teams in this, they are coming over to us. I believe that they were put together by Coach Leo. I don't know if I'm correct on this, but they've got a couple of old names. If you were paying attention to the beginning of predecessor esports, Dibble Dabble was on Team Faded while they were in existence for a while. They've got Mournfall on their team as well in the mid lane, Onyx in jungle, and then Fruit and Septic carrying up the duo lane. I apologize if that's not how you pronounce that, but it looks like Septic to me, so sorry. And then we should probably go over Team Monkey as well. Will you read off Monkey for me, Seismic?
Yeah, let me find them really quick here. There they are. I got Chiron playing solo, Lobo in jungle, mid is April Fool, support Schuster, carry is Black Inferno, and their subs Tappy. I don't know too much about these players specifically. I've seen Schuster play, and he's definitely a solid player. The other ones are kind of a toss-up for me, so I'm not too sure about this team myself.
For sure, but I do think that the team that is in Group B that is worth highlighting and probably the expected favorite is definitely Dirty Lake and the boys. This team is nasty, and they've got a couple of members of the team that got second in our last event, Team Rogue, both Nitro and Appy Picker have moved over to Dirty Lake and the boys. They did compete in the Fang booth with a little bit of a variation to the roster because of having to deal with that European ping, but a decent performance over there, ran into the buzzsaw that is Team Immune and ended up going down to them. However, this team with this current roster is absolutely top tier. Anybody that watched our last event, listen to Lakeinator on our desk, listen to Toasty on our desk. That is their duo lane. They're, doing their thing. They're very knowledgeable players. Everybody saw what Appy can do. I personally believe Appy's a top 5 mid laner in the world with absolutely no debate about it. I think Grady's a top 5 jungler in the world with no debate about it. And we saw Nitro shine in jungle. He's going to be in solo lane this time for sure, but it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to that. Pinzo, I know you played with him a little bit. How is he in solo lane compared to jungle?
He's pretty cracked, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
I can believe it.
Made the switch to solo lane very, very fluidly. Him and Appy playing together is just a pretty scary duo. Even not in mid jungle, even with mid solo, that those guys are really good. I mean, I've played with all of these guys like a lot. That team is very, very good. That's like a top 3 team in my opinion. I would be scared if I'm in their group.
I also think that this team is absolutely nasty. I would be very surprised to see this team not make a good push into our main event as well. Probably a semifinalist, very potentially a finalist as well. We do have a lot of other stacked teams coming up that we're yet to reveal that, may be able to give them a run for their money. But I would not be surprised to see Dirty Lake and the boys get 3rd coming out of our group event at all. It would be not surprising at all. So I do think that we're all kind of in unison thinking that we think Dirty Lake and the boys probably takes this group. Who do we think will get 2nd in this? Because I'm going to go out and I'm probably going to go for 0 grid. What do you think, Seismic?
I absolutely agree. I think they play through Dibble Dabble and the other teams actually would just kind of fall around it. Dibble's a solid player. He's played these remake S games for a long time now. And I mean, he's proven time and time again he can solo carry a game. And the only other team that I'm looking at in this group that I think would give them a run for their money is that Dirty Lake and the boys team. And I think that they're such an insanely strong team. You make the joke that Appy is 5th best mid in the world. I would say he's either the best or 2nd best laner in mid. So like Mornfall is going to have a hard time, but like I said, if 0 grid plays right Dibble Dabble, they get 2nd in this group for sure.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. What do you think, Pinzo? Or did you?
Yeah,
you didn't go already, right, Pinzo? Sorry.
No, I agree. I'd probably give 2nd place to 0 grid. I really, if Dirty Lake can keep Appy on a bit of a leash, I really don't see them dropping a game in this group stages.
Ooh, I do see really quick that our dog with a triple G says that Schuster and Lobo are both NA West, so I'm switching who I think is going to get 2nd place to them. I got to represent the West Coast out here, even though I'm from the middle of the country originally. But that is what we've got for Group B. Next up, we're going to have Group C. We'll go through that really quick. Group C is looking like Team Ronin, 2 Vision, Bronze Army, and Team Immune. So this does have 2 European teams in it with Team Ronin and Team Immune. So a little bit of a ping advantage for Bronze Army and 2 Vision. Have you guys paid any attention to Team Ronin and what they are looking like over there in Europe?
Just looking at the roster, I know Flame is a super solid player. Cheech has been around for a long time. I'm not too sure about Bondrude, Skype Hamster, or it's Luga, but the 2 players that I do know on their team are very, very capable of, making a run in this group for 2nd. When you're looking at this group, I really do think that it's an Immune favored group, but when you're looking at Ronin, I think that they might be the 2nd best team in this group.
Mm-hmm. I think that this might be one of the tougher groups to get through here, with having 2 teams that made our main event last one. Somebody who had won one of our events with Team Immune on there as well. They're gonna have to go through Bronze Army. I think that this one is really up in the air. I do believe that Immune is probably going to win this group. However, I think that this is the most competitive 2nd place group that we will see. It may be one of the opportunities where we get to see a tiebreaker for the first time, as we haven't really had the opportunity to use one of those quick. I do just want to take a second to highlight the the rosters of these teams really quick. I'm going to do it in reverse order, though, because we've got Team Immune over on the right, and I know their roster by heart. So I'm just going to start with them. We've got Tang in the off lane. We got Venom in jungle, replacing the Hebrew Hammer while he is still on his pseudo-retirement. We're going to have, of course, Empty filling up the mid lane, and then we're going to have Neft and Clearcast over there in the duo lane as well. Can you go over the roster for Bronze Army for me, Pinzo?
Yeah, it's the same roster that played in the last event. So they've got Starkey in the solo lane, Plato jungle, Cha mid, Sokap and Sneaky in the duo lane. I like their roster. I do agree that I do agree they're playing for second place. I think you're smoking the good stuff if you think Team Immune isn't taking this group, but second place is going to be a good battle in this event.
For sure. And then can you do a 2 Vision for me? Eden, you're in the chat. Can you tell me how to pronounce your guys' team name? Is it 2 Vision?
I believe it's
2v1 Scion, Double Vision?
I believe it's Double Vision.
Okay. Well, can you read the roster for that for me quick, Seismic, while we get an answer for that?
Absolutely. And this is all legacy players. I think we've seen all of these players play except for their mid laner Eden in some of the early tournaments that this game had. So you have Hasi in solo, Bears jungle, Eden mid. Oh, geez.
It's Silver.
Silver support and Ranting Gamer carry. And then their sub is Feppy, who's also been around forever. So it's kind of like a resurgence team. I'm excited to see how these guys do. This is actually a pretty close group. My biggest worry for Bronze Army is I don't see them playing a lot. So that's the only downside that I see for them. But this might actually be a 3-way run for second place. Looking at some of these rosters,
I definitely think that it could be. I do want to just confirm really quick. Bears is bad news. Bears, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then love seeing Feppy coming back, even though he's only as a sub. Feppy's also won one of our tournaments before, previously with TOS. Tons of sadness that they're not together anymore. But, nice to see Feppy potentially getting himself back into this. And then I believe we already did do Ronin's roster. I believe that we did it right away. But just to make sure that these people are getting the, what they deserve, the name call out for at least being able to come in here, participate, be able to put this event on for it. Real quick, the Ronin roster is Bondrude in solo, Flame Pokin in jungle, Skype Hamster in mid, support is It's Luga, and then Sheesh is their carry. Looking like a pretty solid team. They have been one of the main competitors for Immune in Europe, if you could consider any of the teams that Immune has been playing in Europe as competitors for them. They actually did drop their first game on their home soil in the last for the core that they did. They lost 1 game in the finals. So they do bleed. We saw in the last one that Seismic's team was able to knock them out. So we'll see if Immune can make the push to get themselves back into a good spot to be able to take the crown back. That is going to take us to our very last group of the day, though, Group D over here. And that is going to look like even worse timing with possibly the second best logo I've ever seen in predecessor esports. Primetime, Viper, and No Communication. So a little bit of familiar names with Primetime and No Communications, but there is a team within this that is a variation of an old team that used to be playing, I think they did some Fault. I know that they did some Overprime, probably together back in the Paragon days as well, known as Bad Timing. And let me tell you, if I had to pick a team that I think was going to win our entire event at the end of June right now, I would go with even worse timing, but I think it would be close. That team is absolutely stacked. They've got the Snoop playing solo for them. Ray is going to be their jungler. Shin is their mid laner. And then they've got the classic duo lane of Vecron and Pablo with the sticks, or Pablo Wazowski, as he played with in the last tournament when he was playing for, did he play for you guys, Seismic, right? He was on Royalty in the last one. He subbed for Province.
Yes, correct.
Right. So you've got a little bit of an idea of what it's like to play with Pablo. Anybody that watched his POV or paid close attention to him know that Pablo was putting in work every single game. Can you speak to what kind of player Pablo is for us, quick, Seismic?
Pablo is the kind of player that There's a reason why the W in his name is capital, and it doesn't have to be with the sticks. It's because he's pressing W and running you down lane no matter what. He could be 5 kills down. He's taking a box. He's invading the red side jungle, the blue side jungle. He doesn't care. He's looking for a play, and he's always going to make one. But honestly, this whole roster is super stacked. Vecron in Fault was hands down the best support to play the game. Shin is an insane mid laner that I'm surprised he's only stepping into play now. Ray is, in my opinion, just the best player that plays this game, and he also works on the dev side. And Snoop was the undisputed best offlaner in Fault, in my opinion. Like, having him come in, a lot of offlaners are going to be, I think, getting surprised at where they actually stand, because this is the kind of player that learns fast and adapts in games very fast. He's very smart, and the whole team is aggressive. So there's Pablo has a whole team around him that's pressing W. It's going to be spooky.
Right, and then I think that we were talking earlier about how good of a sub Red Dojo has with Peaks. I think that Even Worse Timing might have the best sub that you could possibly have with Import. Being their sub, somebody who's literally designing and making the game, potentially able to just come step in for them and help them out if they need it. So pretty reliable sub there with Import as well, even though he will be playing on ping, as I believe he is in Germany.
Yeah, that's correct.
So yeah, that's looking like a pretty nasty team. Pinzo, can you go over primetime for me, please?
Yeah, primetime is defenses, solo, Oxygen Thieves in the jungle, Wumba mid, Denim support, Cole1 carry, and then they've got Big Z as a sub.
Perfect. So I know you said that a couple of these people are pretty frequent in your Twitch and had like talked about potentially putting a team together through that. And then we also have that really familiar name with defenses. What do you think the potential for this team is?
Well, yeah, obviously looking at the Even Worse Timing, I think the potential for this team caps out about second place in the group. I think that this group actually is pretty competitive when it comes to second place. We'll get into it when we get to the other two rosters in here. Like, this primetime roster, defenses in the solo lane, like, you know, obviously pretty solid. Their duo lane is maybe the unknown for this team. Oxygen Thieves and Wumba, both kind of known players. Again, they're playing for second place. Okay, none of these teams are beating that dev team on Even Worse Timing. That's a spooky team to have to go against. So kind of feel bad for them, but I do think they have a chance to beat these other two teams and take second.
Right, I definitely think so as well. I want to take a second to go over the Viper roster quick before we move into No Communication, brought to you by Seismic. Over here on Viper, we have Kaijin, I think it's Kaijin, Closer, Queso Gamma, PCC's friend, a spicy tuna roll, and Mood on carry. This is a team I haven't seen play too much together. I watch a decent amount of tuna rolls content. I know that he's like a very analytical minded guy. I know that this is going to be a team that is very like calculated and smart in the decisions that they make. However, I really haven't seen a lot of these people play. I've seen Closer and solo queue a little bit, and Queso Gamma a little bit too, but I really haven't ran into any of these guys very much. Do either of you guys have any familiarity with these players?
I mean, I know Spicy. That's about it from this team.
I know Kaijin, Closer I'm familiar with, Spicy I know as well. Kaijin's a pretty solid player. Closer's the same, solid player, and I think Spicy's solid. So they have 3 solid players. My guess is that they're picking up 2 more. It'd be a little weird to see players that are kind of mismatched. You know, you look at a lot of these teams, and I feel like they do fit in with each other a lot, which is something that's super interesting. I feel like in past tournaments, it's been more of a mismatch, and now you're seeing players with similar styles, similar capability coming together. And I think that, you know, with this team, if they have the 2 other solid players, they definitely could take go for second in this group.
I definitely think so as well. And then the last team that we have in this, do you want to go over that roster for me quick, Seismic?
Absolutely. So this roster is probably my favorite roster in this group over Even Worse Timing. Not because I think that they're going to take it, but because they're going to be so much fun to watch. You got Creed solo, Mav jungle, Fro mid, Easy Ed, the 3-time back-to-back-to-back Fault champion, absolutely a dominating player. There's no one better that's going into solo or support. I'd take Vecron off his throne. Easy Ed's getting right up there because the man's unstoppable. And then you also have him paired with Cold, who's an insane ADC. There's Subscoda, who's also a very good player. But this team is not afraid to try or do crazy things to pull out a win. They are definitely going to be the team to watch. Creed has no filter.
I'm sure that Creed is going to run straight into solo lane with his arms wide open, looking to, push people 6 feet away from him, closer to the edge, all of that, everything that he can do for it. I also do like the idea of highlighting how good that duo lane is. Cold, I've ran into him in solo queue a lot of times. Very rarely get away with a W when I see Cold on the enemy team. And then they do have the prize of Bismarck, North Dakota in Easy Ed there. That's going to be a dangerous duo lane. And I think that, even though I said I think Even Worse Timing will win the entire tournament for us, even our main event here at the end of June, I would not be surprised to potentially see a roster that has such good individual players like No Communications potentially be able to beat them in a one-off, right? Because there are going to be a little bit of ping issues on Even Worse Timing. They've got Ray playing from EU. They've got potentially somebody else. I'm not super familiar with where all of those guys are located, actually, so I don't know if they'll be on ping, but I'm assuming they will be because I don't see them in my solo queue games. But I think that, there's the potential that NoCo or even Primetime or Viper slips one game past them. But dang, does this Even Worse Timing roster look very, very strong.
Listen, not a stab at Pinzo, but Rogue did take their game off royalty. Anything can happen in these group stages. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So honestly, I do think Neo Communication could have something up their sleeve and actually just sneak the win against Even Worse Timing. And it would be crazy to see, Primetime do the same. And then we're looking at a really weird flip because, like I said, No Communication is going to pull out something different. I think all 3 games that they play, it's going to be wild.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. So that is all 4 of our groups, A, B, C, and D. We have all come to pretty much unanimous decisions that we think Professors, Dirty Lake and the Boys, Team Immune, and Even Worse Timing are going to take these groups. That would put Professors up against Team Immune and Dirty Lake and the Boys against Even Worse Timing for a chance to play for 3rd or 4th or 5th and 6th. We're just going to run through these because they're fun. Who do you got between Professors and Team Immune?
I think absolutely Immune.
Agreed.
I think that it is Immune, but strictly because of the subbing going on for Professors.
Exactly.
I've been watching a lot of Crazy Fool and Survivor lately. At Guru pretty much every time he's live as well because I'm a big fan of Mr. Guru's stream and the way that he plays his lanes. But I think that I think that Professors has got a little bit of a vendetta against Team Immune because they lost in that finals to them 2 events ago. They know that they feel like they could have won that. I've heard Crazy Fool talk a lot about like, we threw game 2 or 3 or something. We should have 3-0'd them, something, which I don't disagree with. They played a spectacular series in that best of 5 that they went and ended up losing to Immune in game 5. I think Professors would be incredibly motivated to win that match, but they might have to wait to the main event to be able to do that with the shuffling. And then for our other one, we would have Dirty Lake and the Boys taking on Even Worse Timing. I'm gonna lean Even Worse Timing here. What do you guys think?
I think Dirty Lake is they can do it. Okay, they can do it. I think Even Worse Timing is realistically their own enemy in that game. If they do something, memey or mess around just a little bit too much, I think Dirty Lake can definitely take it. But if Even Worse Timing is actually just like playing the game the way that they want to play the game, then I think that's a really hard team to beat.
Like I said, I think Appy is one or 2 best laning mid laners in the game. But against Even Worse Timing, when both your side lanes are shoved under their turret and you guys can't move on the map, and then your jungler's sitting in mid, I don't know how Dirty Lake and the boys would be able to do it. I'm telling you that these guys are just going to W key on your side of the map, and unless Grady is on his S+ game, it's going to be a real tough game to pull through. So I have to go with even worse timing.
I completely agree. And then that sets up a little bit of a Clash of Titans because the winner of C and D will play then, and we'll get Immune versus even worse timing to see who gets third and who gets fourth. We'll also get Dirty Lake and the boys versus Professors, which if you watch the Prediversity series that they did, that Survivor and Crazy Fool put on, that was actually the finals of that tournament as well. But I don't think that they had, were you playing in that Seismic actually for Dirty Lake and the boys? Or did you sub a game or two?
Yeah, I think I did. I subbed in the finals.
Yeah, I thought so as well. Yeah, so they didn't have the complete roster that they have right now. They had a different offlaner, and they didn't have Appy in mid. So I'm not going to say it's an upgrade, Seismic, because I hold you in a very high regard for mid laners, but you know, a total roster upgrade probably from where they were at. You'll say it's an upgrade. I don't know, Seismic. I'm rooting for you. But I think that this matchup could be really, really good as well. I do think that it's a little tough because of the things that you said. Your side lanes are going to be pushed in. Where's your jungler going to go? But sorry, that was a different matchup. I'm sorry. We're talking about Dirty Lake and the boys versus Professors. I think that that's an opportunity for Dirty Lake and the boys to kind of get the revenge that Professors was looking for to get against Team Immune, as they've lost to Professors in a final. So basically what I'm trying to do is just build hype, because we've got some potentially massive matches that may be coming at the end of this round robin and for the seeding matches for our event coming up next Saturday. It's going to start, the round robins for the teams are going to start at 11. We're not going to show the round robin part of it just because it's too many games and it's too quick, and we want the teams to be able to play it as fast as possible. We are going to show you every single seeding game. So we'll show you the teams that got second playing against each other. 2 of those teams will be eliminated. The winners will play for 7th and 8th. And then we'll go over all of those potential games that we just talked about with the winners of A and C play and the winners of B and D play, and then they go into the seeding as well. Those games should probably start around 12:30 Eastern time. We will have our full complement of desks. Our dog with the triple G will be there. We're even going to have a special Starchy fellow on our desk for this event as well. I don't know if we're doing spoilers or not. We'll just call him the Starchy one for now. We may be able to convince Pinzo or Seismic to be able to come back, but we are not for sure. You'll just have to tune in to see right here on the Prime Championship circuit next Saturday, June 3rd at around 12:30 Eastern. Before we go, I want to give both of you guys, just first of all, a big thank you for tuning in today. Seismic went out and even bought a camera to show the predecessor community what he looks like. So he worked harder for this than probably anybody other than our guy behind the scenes, Choice Play, did. I want to thank him really quick before I move to you, Pinzo. Sorry, I always almost forget about Choice, and I got to make sure I get my thank yous in for him. Giving up his Saturday morning over there bright and early to come put this on for us behind it. You are the best choice. And then absolutely, Pinzo, thank you for coming, sharing some of your, what's the word I'm looking for here? Your following with us, bringing some of you, the Pinzo fans over to check you out here on our content as well. We appreciate leeching off of your popularity. Do either of you guys have something that you want to plug for yourself quick before we go, give you an opportunity to promote yourselves?
I want to plug Spuds the Tuber, absolutely the best Twitch streamer for this game, besides the PCC. But yeah, that'll be my plug. Spuds the Tuber, guys. Head over there.
Perfect. And I'll say subscribe to Pinzo then if he won't.
Okay. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. But that will be it for us today. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. This video will be up available in the VODs on our Twitch. We will also be putting it onto YouTube shortly. We thank all of you guys for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you next Saturday.